Thank you all for being Yammer, loyal Yammer customers, Microsoft customers. We have some great information to share with you today from a roadmap perspective. I'm Steve Nguyen. I'm a program manager with the Yammer product and engineering team. I'll let Murali introduce himself in just a moment. But just to kick off the session, I want to start off with just a video to hopefully get you all inspired. It's early morning there in the APAC time zone. So I want to share just a quick video just to show you a little bit of what Yammer is today, but certainly some of the things that we're thinking about for Yammer in the future.
I'll make you move like your boots are on fire. I'll make you jump like you touch a live wire. Ain't no sitting down when I get in the zone. Just give me my crown, let the king take his throne.
That was amazing, Steve. It always gets me pumped up to listen to some upbeat music, but really looking at how Yammer has come this long way from back in the days when many of you may have started your Yammer networks. But we just wanted to start from the beginning. Thank you for your presence here today. I'm Murali Sitaram. I'm accountable for the Yammer business here at Microsoft. And been here for about 4 years. And I think those 4 years have just been absolutely amazing because we've sort of taken Yammer in a different direction. And it's sort of prescient in a sense as we think about the shift that we've had with Yammer over the last few years. If you recall, Yammer was more a collaboration tool back in the day. It was about creating groups. It was a new way to work, speaking out in the loud and talking out and working out in the loud, but in the open. But what we decided to do 3 years ago was to shift its focus and make it about employee engagement. It's become now the tool and a method by which leaders and employees engage in two-way dialogue. It's become the place where people can harness and share knowledge. It's become the place where people can build community. And when I said prescient, it's because of what we've all been through as humans over the last 2 years. If you can think about this, every life on this planet has been changed in one way or the other because of the pandemic. And it's reached every country, every age, every profession has changed, supply chains have changed, careers have changed. And so the three things that strike us is in terms of looking back and saying, what did we learn through this pandemic, has been clearly hybrid work. And when I think about hybrid work, I have two sort of competing thoughts in my mind. One is I look forward to not having to get up and getting to, using public transport and commuting to a place of work on a regular basis like a metronome. But I also miss the opportunity to meet with my coworkers and mates and create those long-term relationships. All of our working hours are spent working with people that we work with on a day-to-day basis, and not to see them face to face has been just a debilitating sort of loss. So I hold those two thoughts, but it's clear, I think, in my mind, as it is with many people who have created businesses and run companies, that hybrid work is here to stay. And in this world, it's clear that it's important for the connectedness and the creation of community and the sharing of knowledge with people you really don't even know or may not meet on a day-to-day basis. So hybrid work is here to stay. We've also realized that a lot of our businesses are people-centric. It's not like we didn't know this before, but it's become starkly clear and evident right now that without people, and many of those people are making unique and different choices for their careers, businesses are now not going to be the same. So it's rotated management to think more about the well-being of people, about how they connect and what they mean to their businesses and the importance that they have. You can see that in many Western economies that wages are going up, as an example, and people are selecting to effectively find new forms of work. So we're in this third dimension that I list here on this slide, which is the great reshuffle. And this is not just a US phenomenon, this is a global phenomenon where people are deciding that given what they've gone through over the last 2 years, they want a better lot for themselves. They want to think about the roles that they play in the organizations that they associate with it and aspire for something better. And so it's even more critical for leaders within organizations to create the culture and the connection with employees such that they want to work in the places that they are at. So given all of this, if you look at the next slide, Microsoft have traditionally spent a lot of its investment dollars in building tools for productivity. Like I said, Yammer started off as a productivity tool. Clearly Teams, SharePoint, Outlook, Word, PowerPoint, and Excel is all about creating content and sharing that content with others. But we will continue to invest, of course, in productivity tools. That's our bread and butter. And that's so critical to the creation of goods and services across the world. But we also have now come to the conclusion that we need to invest in new areas, which is especially around these areas that are perhaps what was considered softer. How to enable the hybrid workplace and create connectedness, create new connections, allow people to thrive when they may not be face-to-face with people or even in the same time zone or even speak the same language. So Microsoft, if you see on the next slide, is going to invest in what we call the employee experience continuum. And the employee experience continuum is actually, interestingly for us here, users of Yammer, friends of Yammer, people who are curious about Yammer, what Yammer has been all about. So it's going to really mean that Yammer is going to help propel this new category. And this category is going to be centered around individuals, humans, people. And in this case, you can see on the slide that an employee will be using these tools, this employee experience platform, to foster her own well-being, to guide her growth and development in companies, to participate, set, and contribute to the culture of a company, and to build her own expertise and drive knowledge. So all of these things at some level were things that Yammer networks and Yammer customers have used our products for. So we're super excited that on the next slide, you will see that over the last year, we've talked about this new brand called Microsoft Viva, a new set of products that Microsoft is going to be making available. I know there's a session with Mike Holstey that if you've missed or you can attend, you should attend, or at least view, in online at some point, where he talks more in depth about Microsoft Viva and the various modules that are associated with it. But Yammer is going to assist the whole employee experience platform, and its superpowers are going to be delivered through all of these tools. And we're going to invest even more over the next 12 to 24 months to light up Yammer across all of these capabilities. So you can expect that Microsoft, Yammer, and Viva will represent a lot of the employee experience journey from the point an employee joins a company to hopefully the point at which they retire many years later. But really putting that employee in the center and thinking about their needs as it relates to their existence within a broader framework of an organization or a company. We're also making acquisitions in this space. If you see in the last column here, ally.io is a company that builds tools for OKRs, setting OKRs for individuals and for teams. And we believe that by relating objectives to the broader company objectives and by relaying the key results that each individual can drive, it'll become clearer and more transparent about the impact that they're having in companies. So look out for Microsoft to align Yammer more deeply with Viva and bring the power of Yammer, and all the investments you've made around Yammer networks will accrue to Viva directly. And over the next quarter or two, we'll tell you more about some of those features. Steve will talk about some of those that will accrue to this, but there are even more broader plans we have in place that we'll bring to you, probably not today, but in the next quarter or so. So if you go to the next slide, Steve, I think it's important that we come back to the core objective of Yammer that has been, our investments over the last 3 years. It's been about communicating at scale, harnessing knowledge, building community. Corporate communicators and leaders use this tool to get to everybody within the company and create this plural dialogue. And what we want to do today, and I'm going to hand it over here to Steve, is to walk you through some of the new things that we've been thinking of, or things that you might not have been aware of that we've recently made available to our customers. So without further ado, I'm going to pass it back to Steve, and please pop some questions into the chat, or more preferably to the Q&A, and we'll have either Steve or I or some of our teammates answer those questions in real time or right after the event. Over to you, Steve.
Great, thanks, Murali. As you know, we want to make Yammer an engaging place for your employees to connect across your organization. Murali talked about the 4 areas that you see here. In addition to the 4 focus areas that we have here, we want to make sure that the capabilities that we provide to support these areas really light up well across the Microsoft suite. You've made an investment in Microsoft 365, so we want to make sure to meet your employees where they're at, whether they're doing their work inside of Teams, whether they're doing their work inside of Outlook, whether your intranet is based and the foundation is based on perhaps SharePoint. That leads you into things like Viva Connections, Viva Topics. We want to make sure that you have great Yammer experiences across those surfaces. We'll continue to invest and make the Yammer web destination, the Yammer desktop destination, and the Yammer web. Also, we'll continue to make those great experiences as well. So rest assured, we want to make sure that you have great experiences across the surfaces of Microsoft 365. So let's first start within the communications section of this presentation. We know many of you are corporate communicators. You want ways to be able to reach a broad audience within your organization. We've heard from many of our customers, especially during the pandemic, that Yammer has served as a central place to be able to share messages broadly, have company-wide conversations. So let's talk a little bit about how some of the new capabilities that we're bringing to bear. Murali talked about Viva, and one of the modules in Viva is Viva Connections. This is one of the included modules within your Microsoft 365 subscription, so you don't have to pay anything extra to get Viva Connections. This is available to you today. It leverages the investments that you're already making today, like I said, in SharePoint. You can see that this really creates a central employee experience portal, employee experience hub that you can access right from within Teams. So in this case, this fictitious organization has created their Viva Connections. You can rebrand it. You don't have to call it Viva Connections. In this case, they've called it the landing. They put their own company logo there, so you can make it feel like your own. On the page itself, you have this dashboard, this active place where you can have people take specific actions or get access to specific tasks within your organization. We curate news and content here on the page. And then from a Yammer perspective, the place that Yammer content really lights up is within the Viva Connections news feed. And so within the news feed, we're aggregating content in the feed from communities that you're a part of, announcements from communities that you're in. If perhaps you've featured a conversation, that will show up in the news feed. Any live events that are happening, we'll also promote those to the news feed as well. So this is really a way that we can bring curated content that is specific and relevant to you as an employee. Again, really helping to serve that employee experience and making one that's relevant for them when they come to this destination. So how can you start to publish content to this place? Well, certainly there's announcements. Hopefully many of you, I think, are probably familiar with the notion of an announcement within Yammer. And perhaps you also know that we've recently released some capabilities that allow for things like delegate posting, or what we call post on behalf of, or affectionately we call POBO. I know it's a controversial capability. There are differing views on the efficacy of being able to post on behalf of. Rest assured, there are organizations that rely upon a capability like this, whether it's a leader that doesn't have enough time to post, or leaders that don't have enough time to post. They need a little nudge to be able to do so. Or maybe your corporate communications team with several people that you want to be able to safely and securely share a branded corporate communications account. That's another scenario that we hear a lot from our customers. So in this case, I want to do an announcement. And as you know, an announcement, or as you might know, I should say, an announcement in Yammer really serves to amplify a given message to all members of that community. The challenge that we found with an announcement is that it's only as good as the notifications that people have turned on in order to receive that notification. We certainly want to honor the notification settings of members within a given community, but there are certain instances where you want to make sure that you have assured delivery of a message. Maybe there's an outage, or maybe there's an office closing, or something that you really need to make sure you get out to people. Recently, we've delivered a new capability that we call essential announcements. So when I check this box, what it does is it serves to ignore the notification settings of members in this community, and it pushes through and makes sure that the message gets to all members' mailboxes. So in those cases, like I said, when you really need to make sure that something gets through, you really want to get assured delivery of a message, essential announcements allows you to do so. Now, we always recommend that you exercise caution in using this. You don't want to overuse it. Otherwise, your announcements, your essential announcements just become noise. And when you really need to get something through, perhaps people ignore it. So certainly make sure to exercise caution here. So another capability that we heard from corporate communicators is this desire to have communities that were perhaps a bit more moderated in nature. You might know in All Company, there's a capability to restrict who can start conversations in All Company. We've heard from other customers today that have turned on that setting within All Company so that All Company can be the de facto corporate communications channel within an organization. Now we've extended that capability to have restricted posting available in any community. So should you need to be able to restrict who can start threads within a given community, now you can do so. Anybody can still reply or react to posts. Those capabilities are still available. We did also put an extra layer of friction in there because when we initially were previewing this capability with customers, many of our customers said, you know what, we like the feature, but we prefer that most of our communities are open in nature. So what we did was we put some friction in place so that it requires a network administrator to enable it for a given community. So that helps to keep your network a bit more open, but still having this capability for certain communities should you need it. All right, so let's talk a little bit about community. And when we think about community within Yammer, community is really the cornerstone of collaboration and connectedness within Yammer. People come together in communities for a lot of different reasons. Maybe you're a new hire and you're just joining the new hire community and you want to connect with other people that are in the same boat as you. Maybe you need to find a sense of diversity across your organization. Maybe you just want to find some special interest groups. Maybe a running club or a cooking club or a photography club. Those are really important ways to feel engaged within your organizations. So a couple of things that we've done recently within Yammer to really help to create a sense of psychological safety within your organizations. Number one is to be able to mark certain communities as official. We heard from a lot of you that you want to be able to have certain communities that are designated as the official place for people to get information or to connect with expertise. So if this is the central place within this organization to get best practices for sales or vetted sales best practices, now you can mark that community as official. It gets this lovely badge. We extend this badging into places like the left navigation, or if you do search, that we expose that badge in many different places. Again, it's a visual representation to give your employees confidence that this is a sort of an approved company community, if you will. Another long requested ask that we've brought to life is the ability for you now to have nested replies. So now you can have much more visually parse through replies. So when Alex replies to Johanna, we see that sort of UI indentation that allows you to very clearly see that Alex is responding to Johanna. There's other capabilities that we've built in relation to this, things like what we call tombstoning replies. So I don't know if you remember, if you know in the past, if you deleted a thread start, for example, it would bump up the first reply to be the thread start. Well, we've eliminated that. Now we put what we call a tombstone in place so that it makes it a little bit easier to understand when somebody deleted a thread start. We've applied some new filtering options too. So if you want to see recent posts or recent threads, you also have the ability to filter the thread accordingly. Now, as we sort of shift and we talk a little bit more about knowledge, we talked on that earlier page around the importance of knowledge. Another capability that we are in the process of rolling out, probably in the next quarter or so, you notice in this particular Q&A thread, there's an ability for me to add a vote or upvote replies within this thread. Sometimes it's not always obvious what the best answer is within a given question and answer thread. And maybe you want to crowdsource what the best answer should be for that Yammer thread. As you know, maybe you don't know, but you can mark a best answer within the thread. So maybe you want to crowdsource and get some votes and determine what is the best answer. Soon we'll deliver the ability for you to have answer upvotes. So that'll allow you to use voting as a proxy to determine what the best answer is within a given thread. As we think about knowledge within your Yammer networks, we hear from a lot of our customers that have been using Yammer for a long time that there's lots of knowledge that's been accrued within their networks. It's sort of the brain within their organization. So how can we better build a better knowledge management platform for you to retrieve a lot of that tacit knowledge that gets built up within your Yammer network, especially in places like support forums? So how can we sort of extend the capabilities that question and answer, things like question and answer provide, into other surfaces across Microsoft 365. One of the leading ways that we want to do that is through our integration with Viva Topics. So Viva Topics is this rich repository that really is going to create a central knowledge management location for you. It'll use AI. It'll use some element of manual curation for you to identify the important topics within your organization. And one of the things we're really excited to bring to Yammer is the integration of Viva Topics into Yammer. So you see this question and answer thread that I have here, and if I start to type in here, Mark, now I'll see some of the other. Now I'll see some of the topics that already exist within this organization, and so I can choose Mark 8X. I can ask my post, or I can ask my question here, and you'll see now I get a very familiar looking question here in Yammer with a topic attached to it. When I hover over it, with Viva Topics enabled, now I get a little snapshot of what this topic means within my organization. Now I'm showing you this Viva topic here as it's exposed in Yammer, but should Murali and I be having a Teams chat about Mark 8X? Similarly, I could hover over Mark 8X in Teams and get the similar card, or in Outlook, I get a similar experience as well. When I do so, now I'll have some other data about what this topic is. I can see some of the related questions and answers. In Yammer, I can click through and I can see some of the other conversations and questions that are associated with this topic. This will exist whether you have Viva Topics or not. So if you weren't subscribed to Viva Topics, you would still get this native Yammer Topics capability. But if I do have Viva Topics, I can click through to the Viva Topics page itself. And I can see, again, some of the AI curated information about who some of the experts might be within my organization around Mark 8X. What are some of the assets and files or reports that are associated with this particular topic? Here now, this is where we bring some of that, again, that tacit knowledge from Yammer. So questions and answers that exist across your network, we would expose them onto the Viva Topics page. Any conversations or featured conversations that might also be aligned with this topic would also show up here. And then Viva Topics shows this nice visual graph of how some other topics might be connected across the organization. Like I said, hopefully you see a little bit of what we're doing with Viva Connections and Viva Topics to bring Yammer to those surfaces. And we've already done some work to bring Yammer to places like Teams and places like Outlook. Want to highlight some of the other areas in which we are continuing our investment in making sure to bring Yammer to you in a very integrated fashion. The first of which is something that you're experiencing here and something that Allison described earlier, which is question and answer inside of a Teams meeting. We hear from our customers, especially when meetings get above 50 or get to 100 or certainly several hundred people, the chat starts to get a bit unwieldy. So having this question and answer capability within a Teams meeting allows you to have a bit more of a structured conversation, a bit more durable conversation. We're bringing the power of Yammer question and answers into a Teams Q&A, so you can have that nice threaded discussion. Of course, we bring in reactions, but also things like best answer. So now you can mark the best answer also in the context of a Teams meeting as well. So we're really excited to partner with Teams to really improve that meetings experience. I should note that the Yammer questions and answers live inside the context of the Teams meeting itself. So they're not connected to a Yammer community or anything like that. They all live, if you needed to refer back to them later on, they're all available inside of the Teams meeting. Hopefully you all are using the Yammer Communities app in Teams. It's been a great way to be able to expose more people to the goodness of communities within organizations. We have many organizations that have come out of the gate by launching Yammer through the Communities app in Teams, which is a great way to introduce Yammer to your organization. We want to continue to make the Yammer experience inside of Teams feel more native. You'll notice some things here, like, for example, conversations about files and events. Typically, where these would exist, if you look in Yammer, they live right here right around the cover photo. But we've brought it up to the top, which is more of a sensibility, design sensibility that Teams offers, so that when you're here in Teams, you feel like you're more native in Teams. You notice here things like the question and answer. We've brought the question design from Teams, or at least iconography from Teams, here into the Yammer interface. So this will still continue to be a Yammer-powered experience. So the investments that you're making in Yammer today will still continue to accrue to this experience. We just want the visual element of the Communities app in Teams to feel more native to people while they're using Yammer inside of Teams. Of course, the power of notifications inside of Teams. If I were to have followed through on that announcement that I showed you earlier, you get those Yammer announcements, announcement notifications, and @mention notifications right within Teams. Of course, you can tune those to your needs. So if you don't need that noise or you don't need that notification in Teams, you can certainly tune those and adjust those. But we have heard that it is nice for people to be able to access that notification from within Teams and access that conversation straight away without having to bounce between a bunch of different applications. For many of you, hundreds of millions of you that are still using Outlook, we've also brought the Communities app into Outlook as well. So should you want to continue to use Yammer as your day-to-day workhorse, I'm sorry, if you want to use Outlook, the Outlook client or the Outlook web as your day-to-day workhorse, you can now use the Communities app within Outlook to be able to access the full breadth of Yammer, just like you would in Teams, but instead doing so within Outlook. I'm going to diverge just a little bit and talk about Yammer administration. There are three topics that I want to make sure to call out for you all because they've been highly requested by many of our customers. The first of which is activity-based renewal for Yammer communities. So what this means is that you won't have to do anything extra for your Yammer-based communities or I'm sorry, your Microsoft 365 groups that have Yammer communities, they'll automatically renew as long as there's been viewing activity or posting or reacting or uploading of files within that community. Your Yammer community will automatically renew for you. So this helps make Yammer communities consistent with how Teams expiration works or Outlook groups expiration works. This is available to you today. We're also in the process of rolling out data retention. So for those of you that that are part of organizations that need to apply data retention policies to Yammer content, this is currently in public preview, so you can start to use this now. All of the beauty of all this is that it's available right within the Security Compliance Center. So you don't have to go to a separate place. It's all managed in the same place. You can apply your retention policies all within the Compliance Center. The other piece that we've heard from many of you is this desire or need to have a Yammer admin role, and specifically a Yammer admin role that's connected to Azure Active Directory. So this is something that we're actively working on. It'll basically map to the same verified admin role that you have today. It'll support group-based role assignments and also, of course, integrate with privileged identity management, so PIM as well. So this is something that we're working on. We'll have a better time frame, probably early next calendar year, but certainly in the next calendar year, you should expect to see a new Yammer admin role in AAD. So this is an area that we are starting to explore, and we'll have more to share next calendar year in this regard. But we are also looking to create ways for your employees to share more engaging posts, more engaging content, give them easier ways to follow people and communities that are of interest to them. And we want to use a lot of those signals that people might create from these following relationships to create even more rich and relevant employee experiences. One that really helps to drive connection and helps build their network at work. And as we've been doing, we want to extend all of these connections and all of these connections that are powered by Yammer. We want to make sure that they're available across the Microsoft 365 suite. So what exactly am I talking about here? Well, this is a chance for some audience participation. So I think Allison is going to bring up a quick poll on this screen here. And you will have an opportunity to vote on what we talk about next. So as this poll is coming up, just want to make sure that we're all clear that what we're going to share next, whatever you decide, these are just design concepts. We're still in the very early stages of the designs of some of these, but we want to just give you a little bit of insight into some of these areas that we're working in, and we'd love to get your feedback on some of these concepts. So just know that whatever you see from any of these categories is still very early, and we're not tied to anything, but we'd love to get your initial feedback. So I'll pause and wait for the votes to tally. Murali, anything to add while we wait for the results?
I feel that there's a number of capabilities we've talked about so far, but what you're going to find is the ability for Yammer to reach bigger and bigger audiences and be in a position where we can create this rich dialogue. So things like nested replies, the ability to answer, upvote, ensure that topics are added to conversations are all elements to make these large form conversations richer and richer. And that then becomes the superpower that you'll see in Viva for sure, and in other places like Teams. One of the things that we found is customers who use Teams a lot benefit from pinning the community app in Teams. That has to be done at a network basis or by each individual. But when you do that, you can get the power of the two tools in one experience. You can get the immediate chat, meetings-like experiences, but you can also get the longer form community conversations. And it just feels natural because the notifications just show up in one place. And by now, it's been so amazingly adopted that it's become one of the largest enterprise applications on Teams. There are larger ones in education, as an example, like in classrooms and so on, but there's nothing in the enterprise level that has the impact that Yammer has had with Teams. So just a couple of data points as we wait for the results here.
So the votes are in, and I'll first say I'm disappointed that you all didn't you didn't conspire with the morning session to try to cover all of these, because you actually voted on the same two that the morning session did. So let's go ahead and talk about those. Maybe we can tease some of the other ones at a later time. But really interesting. But it's informative, right, Murali? I think even between the two sessions, the same two. I think people are interested. I think that says something. So let's start.
I think it's also because those topics are near and dear to people who manage Yammer networks. Onboarding for sure, and then a way to organize communities. But we're super excited for some of these other areas. We'll come back to you maybe at a future point, and we can talk about them as well.
Yeah. So let's talk about onboarding. So we've done a couple of things already in onboarding to help acclimate your employees when they first come to Yammer. We know it's important for many of your organizations. We've heard from customers throughout our day, your evening, the importance of setting purpose for your employees as they come into your Yammer networks. So we've done some things to help recommend a certain set of communities for people when they first come, and try to improve the relevancy of those recommendations. But we know there's also an opportunity because you have a captive audience. You have perhaps a new person, a new employee starting at your organization. Can we drop them into a specific set of communities that you have identified? Can we have them automatically follow a certain set of people or executives or leaders within your organization? All of these things really help to set the right context for a new person coming into your organization, having them have a deep sense of belonging within your organization. So onboarding is certainly an area that we want to spend more time in to make sure that when your employees first come to Yammer, that there's a sense of purpose, and a sense of purpose that's connected to your own company's purpose and mission as well. The other area that you voted on was Community Hub, and so this is an area that we're starting to experiment with. We actually done some small experiments here within Microsoft around this concept of a community hub, a central place that we can bring together a visualization of all the communities that exist within your organization, perhaps using some artificial intelligence to inform certain communities that might be important or relevant to a person within your organization. Maybe aggregating some of the content across certain communities into a central place as well. But having this central place where people can access employee resource groups or support communities. This is just a mock-up, a very early mock-up of what this central community hub might look like. So these are just, like I said, some initial explorations. Please put in the chat or use the Q&A, the discussion part of the Q&A, whatever you're comfortable with. Let us know. What do you think about Community Hub? What do you think about onboarding? What are things that you think we should be doing better in those areas? We'd love to hear from you. And if you want to connect up with our product team more deeply on these topics, let us know. We can do that as well. Finally, I just want to leave you with this. This is an overarching view of our overall Yammer roadmap. Some of the things that you saw that we talked about earlier today, some things that perhaps maybe we didn't talk about. I know bookmarking conversations comes up a lot from many of you that were legacy Yammer, or classic, I should say, Yammer customers that still appreciate and want the ability to bookmark. We are working on that. That should be available hopefully within the next quarter or so. I know things like scheduling posts are important to corporate communicators, like many of you. So we're working on that. Being able to go back and edit attachments, another capability that I know is near and dear to many of you. That's also something we're working on as well. So this is a view of where we're headed, and we're excited. Thank you so much for your feedback on all these areas that we're continuing to work on. We did some other Microsoft-led sessions earlier today. We have recorded them. We'll make them available to you in case you're curious on what those were. Murali talked about the Viva snapshot that Mike Holste did. So if you're not up to speed on Viva, that's a great session for you. Fernando did a deep dive on our Yammer discovery feed and all the elements that go into it. Really insightful. Lacey talked about how Yammer research works, how we take a lot of the feedback that you provide to us, and how that all accrues into the products and into the features that we build at Yammer. If you're interested in being a part of our Yammer research, we invite you to be a part of that. The more information, the more feedback that you can give to us, the better product that we can build. So highly encourage you to participate in research with us, where you can connect us with other people within your organization as well to provide us with research. End users specifically, people that are, in front of sort of first line people. Those are amazing people. If you can also help us connect up with them, that would be appreciated as well. Well, you'll have links to these resources when we make the deck available. But we wanted to spend some time here to also recognize the work that many of you do, and a specific person in this case. That we went and give the Yammer Community Champion Award. We awarded the European, and I'm sorry, we awarded the Europe. The EMEA and the North America winners, I should say, this morning. It was exciting. Ty Collins from Home Depot and Bernie Murtaugh from Capita. They were the winners of the Yammer Community Champion Awards from those regions respectively. For the winner, we will present them with a Yammer and SWOOP prize pack, a Yammer duffel bag, because these people, these community managers, are really carrying the networks on their back. We'll provide a Yammer pullover, a Yammer mug for your coffee or tea, a tile so that you can locate your purse or wallet at any given moment. And of course, we'll provide a donation to the Rainforest Trust. So without further ado, we are excited to announce the APAC Yammer Community Champion for 2021. By the way, we got a lot of nominations. So thank you for those of you that did put in your nominations. It was a tough decision, but we're really proud of this person and the accomplishments this person has done within their organization. Murali?
Okay, drum roll, please. Let's go to the next slide. And the winner is Richie Cartmel of ANZ Bank. Now, ANZ have been such a long-term Yammer network, and they've come up with a lot of great best practices, but Richie has helped ANZ take their use of Yammer to the next level. So hope you're there, Richie, and this is well-deserved. I know all the great work that you do internally at ANZ to prop up the network and get people to share and organize content flow within the network there. So congratulations.
And I also want to say Richie is we have a Yammer Customer Connection community. James, if you want to plug in the link to join our Yammer Customer Connection community if you're not already. But Richie is a member of our Yammer Customer Connection community, is one of the most active people out there, asking questions, answering questions of other people, even more, perhaps more importantly, providing us with feedback all the time, super active, super engaged there. So thank you for your participation in our customer community, Richie. I don't know, maybe if you'd want to come off mute, if you have any acceptance speech.
Oh, no. I don't have an acceptance speech prepared, and I feel like you'll play me off if I even try to do one. But no, just thank you. And I think I'm really proud of our network, and I think it's really nice to be recognised, but it's certainly a lot to do with the people we have at ANZ and people sharing what they're passionate about and just being really great adopters. So again, thank you everyone. Thank you for all the lovely comments and all the reactions and everything. I really appreciate it. And thank you to my team as well. My team's on the line, or I know Toby's there, and Ryan and Dan, and it's really been a group effort for our network. So thank you. It was lovely.
Well, thanks for all you do, Richie.
No worries.
Yeah, thank you for everything you've done, and thank you for your support over the years, Richie. And I know there's more to come, and there's more value to be added to your employees and associates at ANZ, or I should say ANZ.
Either way is fine, all good.
So that's all we had to share. Murali, you want to wrap us up?
Yeah, I mean, it's just been great to meet again with our customers. I'd love to have done this in real flesh, if you will, but hopefully one of those will happen at some point. But this is just a great way in which we can get our customers to share their stories, give you some tips and perspectives, and also recognize the great work of people around the community. So thank you very much. And thank you to the SWOOP team. This has been a great event, and I know there's more to come. This is it's like a follow the sun model. I think we have. So if you folks are available till midnight, we have programming for you. So thank you very much, and looking forward to the next sessions.